Welcome to Functional Roots, where whole body wellness begins in the mouth. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Heather, and we're hygienists with a passion for all things holistic, functional, and naturopathic.
This isn't your average dental podcast. Around here, we dig deep, past the plaque and into the powerful connections between oral health, the body, and the way we live.
So whether you're a fellow dental professional, a wellness enthusiast, or just someone curious about taking a more natural approach to your health, you are in the right place.
So grab your favorite herbal tea, settle in, and let's get to the root of it all.
Right. I'm so excited today. We are welcoming Mark Wisniewski. I probably just slashed your last name. Sorry, Mark. But Mark is a leader and pioneer in the field of biologic dentistry. He's recognized internationally for his expertise in mercury-safe dentistry, ozone therapy, and oral systemic health. He's a fellow of the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology and a fellow at the Academy of Ozone Therapy. Dr. Mark has served as president of the IOMT and currently chairs both membership committee and international committee, where he plays a key role in expanding the Academy's global reach and supporting practitioners who are committed to safe and biocompatible dentistry. Widely respected for his early work in mercury-safe, Dr. Mark was the first dentist to be SAFE certified through the IOMT's rigorous program for the safe removal of amalgam fillings. He has helped shape the SAFE protocol itself, establish protective measures for safeguarding both patients and dental professionals for mercury exposure. His work has influenced generations of biologic dentists and remains a cornerstone of the modern mercury-safe practice. In his practice privately, Dr. Mark provides comprehensive biologic restorative care with a focus on oral systemic health. His approach integrates safe amalgam removal, ozone therapy, nutritional support, and airway-focused care with the latest minimally invasive restorative dentistry. Patients travel from across the country to seek his expertise in safe amalgam removal, chronic disease prevention, and holistic treatment strategies that respect the body's innate immune system. I'm super excited. I met Mark years ago. I was thinking about going into biologic dentistry. Mark is super at poking people on Facebook. I wanted to touch base with someone who was in the biologic dentistry world, but not in my community as I was exploring a position here. Reached out to Mark. I've known him the longest out of all the biologic dentists, and I happened to sit next to him at this latest conference and was super excited to ask him to explore the conversation behind mercury in our podcast. Welcome today, Mark. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Heather and Amanda, for having me along and a flowery introduction. I appreciate that. My claim to fame, the first smart certified dentist in the world. Other than that, I'm just a hero in my own mind. But I much appreciate and hope that I can help your listeners in their journey.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I know even today, the topic of mercury amalgam fillings is still controversial. I was super excited. Amanda and I got invited to speak on A Tale of Two Hygienists. And I did touch a little bit on the topic there, trying not to too much rock the boat. But of course, Mark, you and I are like that in some of the Facebook posts with our biologic dentistry, where we just give a little poke here and there. So it's super excited. Can you tell us, share your story on how you first found your way into biologic dentistry? What shifted your perspective? You started in conventional dentistry. Give us a little background on how you ended up where you are.
I had become sick, not knowing. The interesting thing about mercury toxicity is that it's not like you look in the mirror and you go, oh, I'm sick. But you start having lots of different symptoms slowly over the years of the exposure. And you think this is like normal. Oh, my mother had this or whatever. So you might have anxiety or all kinds of neurologic issues. You can One of the common things that I found after the fact was twitch in your eye. And I asked my patients, I go, does your eye twitch? Oh yeah, my eye twitches. Isn't that interesting? Because mine used to twitch before I detoxed. And so, yeah, I was near dead in myself. And I had a patient who had MS and came to me. This was before SMART existed. And no one in my little town even used a rubber dam. And she asked me to remove her mercury and that she had read that it was helpful and could I do it safe for her? And of course, at the time, unknowingly safe was using a dam vacuum. I removed her mercury and I thought about I wanted to read what she had read. So I went into the internet and I started downloading studies. And every day I would come home from work and download studies. And I realized, wow, I have that. And after 2 weeks of like just unbelievably looking at this, I remember I went downstairs and I said to my wife, I'm mercury toxic. And she said, good, now you can finally come here and eat dinner with us. So that was really at the beginning. And then after that, I discovered the IOMT. I had gone through this whole thing on my own. And at the time, the Academy hadn't really done a great job of optimizing their website. So then I found them. And then that was history to be made. And so then, yeah, I started my detoxification after the first meeting that I went to was in Chicago. Tim Guilford, who did all the original research on liposomal glutathione, was there and explained to us how the glutathione works in your body to remove mercury and other metals, and gave me a couple of drops, and I started with that, and I knew right away that this was going to help me because although I was very toxic and probably near death because of my heart issues with my family, that I started down the glutathione, making up my own protocol for years. And then along came Chris Shade, who explains the glutathione pathways and how we can upregulate in order to detox better and faster. And in altering my protocol, and Shades has his own protocol with his company, Quicksilver, and which is a nice package with a lot of things, and it's a path that people can take for detoxification. The whole thing for the public is they want to detox and they don't want to take the fillings out of their mouth. Everyone hates dentistry. You can't blame them, but it doesn't work. Yeah, it's the old one step forward, two steps back. When the mercury coming out of your fillings is constant, and it's not like the old, oh, if you chew gum or when you brush your teeth. No, I'm excited. There's a new meter that just came out that I'm waiting for, the Pico-Une. And it's small. You can put it on your chest and you can get a live reading at the end of the day to see all of your exposures. But I took it around and I was putting it in people's mouth. And one guy said, oh, I have two amalgams. They're like 30 years old. I said, well, open your mouth. And we took the reading and up the meter went. And his eyes got big, and then he like headed over to the booth, like, is this thing real or what? So yeah, this instrument should further educate. I plan on getting it and doing some videos so that dentists and hygienists can see and maybe move their dentists towards better education and awareness of the problem. We'll put that meter in the hygiene room for a day, and at the end of the day, you plug it into your computer and you can see any kind of jumps throughout the day, and it can show that in the office. We'll see, because we don't have these live measurements around the office. Matt Young, bless his soul, had ran tubing around his office and did this kind of thing on a computer with the Mercury 3000, which was the state of the art, is one of the state of the arts. I think this new Pico-Une unit, which is plasmoid reading, is equally as accurate and is being used in by oil companies and things to look at exposures. He discovered that the autoclave, the sterilization area, it has a jump every time that autoclave pops. The entire sterilization area gets a dose of mercury. So
Interesting.
it adds to the atmosphere of the office. Yeah, but I don't think I've seen any kind of live measurements around the office. Or at least Maddie never mentioned that to me about during mercury removal in another part of the office. And of course, it's going to make a difference how your office is designed, what kind of protocols you have in
If you have
place.
rugs in your office too, that makes a big difference. It always ews me out when I see rugs in an office.
And the rug thing is the mercury accumulates everywhere. You have nanoparticulate. And when you drill, even with our big elephant trunk and what have you in place, and I use two of them, and you can get behind it. And when you drill at 300 to 400,000 RPM, it pushes it past the vacuum. So you have particulate everywhere. It's how your office is. It's on the ceiling. And if you have rugs, good luck with that. And then you vacuum, and now you're sucking it up and blowing it around. The dental office is a problem. You walk into your office, there's a level in every office. In my clean office, there's a level. And in a conventional office, I threaten when I retire, I might make some visits. So I have to be very interested to see what kind of levels exist. Years ago, I asked our fire department has a meter. They have the old Jerome meter. And I told them about the problem in dental office. I said, don't you think it's like your duty to go around to dental offices and see if their level is above OSHA recommendations? And he said, I'm not getting involved in that.
I'm not getting involved in that. It's funny because before going into biologic dentistry, I had opened my original business model was I was doing OSHA training, and I was invited to one of the practices that I used to do the OSHA training in after. And this was after I discovered the smoking tooth video. And I printed out the OSHA MSDS sheet on amalgams, which tells you have to use respirators and special equipment when dealing with amalgams right in the MSDS sheet. And I printed an MSDS sheet to every single person, and that was the MSDS sheet we reviewed in the class. And what my friend who was also in biologic dentistry prior, she's like, you're gonna push the envelope. I don't think you're gonna get invited back. And I was like, I want to put the mercury information in here because this is hidden. Like it's out in the open, but it's hidden that we should be using the respirators, like just like safe removal, and have special protocols. And it makes sense. Like we have to have amalgam traps in every single office to trap it. We're supposed to put any chunks of amalgam in a biohazard material and safely get it out so it doesn't end up in our water system. But our assistants are handling these on a regular basis with not the appropriate equipment. And it says right in the MSDS sheet. So I did show the smoking tooth video in my OSHA course for the general dental practice. I was not invited back.
Her first and last presentation.
Yeah, that was my last OSHA presentation.
You have to take your shot when you get the chance. This is what else you're going to do. The problem is people
Once
can't
you learn it and see it, you can't unlearn it. That's the fun thing about biologic dentistry is like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And exactly how I end my talk that you missed on Sunday. Every time I leave with that. Once you see it, you can't unsee it because it's so true. And I think the most important thing for dentists who just don't want to listen and get it, and for the public, is that the understanding of the half-life of mercury in your body. The half-life. That means like you're exposed, mercury gets to your brain, and that amount, that day, at that moment, 27 years from that moment, about half of that will be gone. The other half's still there. So then tomorrow, and then tonight you have tuna, and then, and then you drink some lead contaminated water. Lead is said to be 40 years in your bones. And that is not, that's FDA. You can go on to the government website and that's what it says. But what no one talks about the half-life problem. So it's very low. Even the ADA, when we finally cornered them and they had to admit that mercury comes out of your fillings, it's very low. But they don't go to the next step. It's low 24 hours a day, accumulating in your tissues, which is why, depending on your ability to excrete, your symptoms may not occur until you're 50 years old. You might not really, or you're slowly getting symptoms, and it really has to do with your ability to excrete. Some people, like they say, a third of the population has excellent ability to excrete. Even those people, unless they're Superman, their mercury is poisonous to them either way. It's just that it doesn't accumulate as fast. Your body is a perfect machine, and when it's exposed to the most toxic metal, mercury, it has to deal with it, and it deals with it very quickly by hiding it into different tissues so that it's not going to kill you.
It's interesting. Yeah, I meet with a functional medicine doctor almost weekly, and I'm teaching her about the oral systemic connection and how she can help with her patients. And she wanted to learn about thyroid health. And I pulled some research because the amount. So I've been slowly kind of some information into each one of because it's beyond the oral microbiome. I try to pull some other stuff, fluoride, toxicity, and such. And there's research articles that show it accelerates or is even worse in the older populations. Those are in above 70 with the accumulation of the mercury within the thyroid, and it takes the place. And then one of the biggest issues for health history is thyroid disorders for a lot of our patients. So that mercury impacts that immune system attack on the thyroid because we have mercury sitting in there, and it gets worse the longer the exposure is. So it just coincides with that conversation, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole concept of autoimmune is nonsense. It's a misterm to your body doesn't turn on itself. It's very simple. And they want to Hashimoto's and these thyroid problems, and mercury has a 2+ charge, and it binds to proteins which have the acceptor sites, and then once it binds, the body sees it as foreign. It's not attacking itself, it's attacking now a contaminated protein.
Yep.
So it's not really autoimmune, it's a created immune by the toxins, and other things can bind to these hormones and cause thyroid problems. But thyroid for a long time was the buzzword of the medicine world. I don't know, they go from it's one thing after another of what the problems are, everything but what the problem is. This is
Right.
how we go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, our focus for the academy now has been turned because it's so difficult to get to the dentist. I was there. No one was telling me that mercury, although in the back of my mind, I always knew it, and maybe it's true. You're trying to make a living. So, no, going to the dentist and telling them this mercury toxicity problem, they can't acknowledge it. So for the academy now, we focus on educating the public. The public seems to be more willing to learn and are interested because they're the one with the problem. They got the mouthful of metal and they got some problems and they don't want to take medications. So that's the crowd that we go to now, and we're about to launch around the world public education. And then it worked very well here in the United States to go to their dentist and say, look, you're going to remove this safely or you're not touching me. So this is what's going to drive the change is the public. It's not going to be people look to their doctors for all the answers. I grew up, oh, you feel sick, call your doctor. No, we learned that, okay, sure, if you want to use oil products to try to suppress symptoms, you call your doctor. If you're trying to find root cause, hopefully you have the ability and maybe you can call upon some biological thinking practitioners that can guide you to find the answer of what the cause is. I hear it, I'm concerned. We have the new hygienist program, and we have hygienists that work in unsafe offices, and yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So,
Right here.
so we give you that Pico Yun, we let you hang it on your, or put it next to your chair, and then we sit the doctor down at the end of the day and say, here's what I'm experiencing every day. And I'm going to tell you that I don't even care if you give me a $50 an hour raise. I'm not doing this anymore. Either you're going to make my environment safe, or I need a new job. I'm not encouraging you to say this, but I'm
Yeah.
saying this is what's going to drive the change.
Yeah.
You've got to hit them in the pocketbook. You got to hit them in the head, because they need the help. You're benefiting that doctor by saying, look, you're either going to do this right, or I'm not going to be exposed to this anymore. Or put a barrier up in my room. I need a special air filter. And then I'll continue to work for you. And then let them go home and think about that.
It's
Because
hard to argue with a meter, like that's actually
Yeah.
telling you what your exposure is.
I think this is going to be a game changer. I'm excited to make some videos and get that out there. So we'll see how that goes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what a safe protocol is? What does it mean to do a safe removal? What's involved in safe? For those who are listening and they're not really sure what safe removal really means, what does that protocol look like? How did the IOMT and you come up with the safe protocol? And what are some key targets and things that we need in place to be safe removal?
It was scientifically studied. Warwick and Young, and there was you can look that up or as far as the study that was done, multiple studies about exposure. And then I came up with this idea that, hey, why don't we develop a protocol based upon those studies to try to protect our membership and our patients? And then it was called something else, and we had all kind of wise ideas, but it ended up as SMART, Safe Mercury Amalgam Removal Technique, which now I changed personally to Safe Metal and Amalgam Removal, because also a big problem is allergy, and allergy is in your crowns. People think they have porcelain crowns, and it's metal underneath, and it's like the cheap earrings that you buy that you can't wear, and it's in your mouth 24 hours a day, and it's, hello, why do I have gut problems? You got an allergen in your mouth. And when you drill that, you need to also make sure, because you're nanosizing that metal, you also need to make sure that you protect metal and mercury removal using the same metal for allergen, mercury for toxin, and potentially allergen too. And so the protocol looks like this over here. For the doctor, of course, I don't use the nets anymore. They're permeable, but for the patient, it's total coverage, oxygen, swishing with charcoal, things like that. And we have a checklist. We want the people to, there's doctors, there's dentists all over. And you have to sympathize with the problem. There's people that are slaves to insurance, and insurance does not pay for smart. And there's dentists telling people, oh, this is safe. And then you can download the checklist and look at, say, are they usually the protocol? And the protocol, we're always trying to look and see if we can make it even better. Nothing's perfect, but for the patient, it's total isolation, not using a latex dam, but a non-latex dam, because we found that mercury goes right through latex. And then covering their face, all tissue is covered, adding that big elephant trunk in front for the dentist and his assistant. It's this screen and total coverage. And as soon as we remove it, you go get rid of that stuff and put it in sealed containers. And then all of the mercury waste, including your gloves, you put it in a sealed container and then you send it off to Washington, D.C. at the end of the month so that they can deal with the mercury waste. Nobody else wants to do it. It's amazing around the country, that around the world, countries don't even, the mercury from the dental offices just get tossed. They don't have separators. But anyway, it's most important because I have people all the time that come to me, and they had before they came to me, and they're sick and they had their mercury removed unsafely and they're exposed. And it's remember, 27-year half-life in your brain. Okay, how do we reverse that? You don't do it by taking a pill. It takes time. It takes a persistence and time. Glutathione detox, I tell people, depending on my interview with them, how much they might have, you're going to do this for 1 or 2 years, 5 days on, 2 days off, according to shade, and then see how you are, and perhaps you need to do it periodically. You're getting exposed from your environment. Some people can't excrete it all, and they end up with problems. They show this in spectrum children have no ability to excrete. They want to say, oh no, vaccine had nothing to do with it. It's accumulation of everything, and then you'd give an injection and of metal to a person who can't excrete at all, and that's too much. And so, does it cause it? It's part of the problem for sure. You're bypassing all of your natural filtering systems, your lung or your gut, and injecting it into your blood. Well, hello, you either have a good system for filtration or
you don't.
Yeah, or you're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. And if there is some really great speakers out there and researchers who have looked at that pathway. I think we had someone speaking at the IOMT over the weekend about it. I've listened to someone speak on it too, where they've done biopsies on the brains of kids with autism who had passed and Alzheimer's patients. And the aluminum levels in those individuals are identical with Alzheimer's for the long term and then autism. And they are tying the mercury and the aluminum in vaccines. So if we're questioning thimerosal, and thank God we're in the MAHA movement with really questioning the mercury and thimerosal and how that impacts autism, I think, why are we not looking more at the mercury that's even higher and longer exposure in individuals for that neurological component also? So I'm excited to see the MAHA movement talking about the thimerosal and the toxins and the safety of vaccines and how that impacts health. But also, if we're willing to have that conversation, how are we not looking at mercury? The FDA has made an announcement we shouldn't be placing mercury in anyone with pregnancy, children, renal issues. It's right on the FDA website that those are patients. Like, why is it okay for everybody else to have it in the mouth 2 inches from the brain, constantly leaching? It just doesn't make sense that we're putting it in the mouth at all. And we should have those guidelines. If we have to have an amalgam filter on all dental practices to pull the amalgam from the water system so it doesn't end up in our tuna fish and our fish in our streams, why does it make sense that we're putting it in the mouth at all anymore? Or why does it make sense that we don't have safe protocols like the IOMT has put together where we're safely removing it, both for us as practitioners who are getting clinical exposure, but for the patients itself? Even when you guys are removing the amalgam filling, like, you're not like, just so many regular dentists are just like dropping right into that amalgam, and it's just like through the amalgam filling, right? And we're just particleizing everything. With the safe removal, even the removal of the amalgam is a special process where you're going around the edges and trying to scoop that amalgam out so that you're not exposing as many of the microparticles within that procedure itself. So even just how we're removing the amalgam or the metals, like you said, is really important for the exposure for both us as practitioners and our patients.
Yeah, the going around the outside of the mercury filling never was probably a good idea. You have to chunk it out, but yeah, you need to be aware when you touch it with the drill, it instantly vaporizes. And Jay, who owns PicoUne, this was his first dental meeting. He just had an idea to come and talk to and show us. Really a great kid. But he said, I said, yeah, when we touch it with the drill, he said, you touch a chunk of metal containing mercury with the drill and you instantly vaporize all the mercury instantly. So the chunk is 50% mercury and you touch it with your drill, and I don't care. Everybody present just got a big dose and more than tuna fish. It's a mega dose. So yeah, all of it's so important. And you want to talk about the shots. I don't generally talk about the shots with people unless they want to talk about it. We have the perfect machine. And it goes back to the beginning when humans bought this idea that you need shots in order to protect yourself to live on Earth. That's bunk. That's bull. Okay. Sure, it was an interesting thing when they took particles of bacteria and exposed the person and showed that their immune system created antibodies and killed off and maintained the machine in perfect order. That was a great idea. But then from there, that you need this to live, that's bull. That you need this to survive, that's a lie. And now we have to defend and ask them to take some of the stuff out of the shots. No, sure. I see your window of opportunity. You got Kennedy saying, oh, a big hooray, hooray. We took the mercury out of the flu vaccine. Let's talk about the aluminum, the squalene, the other 10 things that are in there and you're injecting babies with. It's dumb, people. It's not a smart thing. It was never needed. It was sold to you. Now has become science to many because you bought that whole package. I'm sorry, but you don't need that. What you need is good health and nutrition. You got to stop eating poison sprayed food at every meal, every bite you take. Your liver and kidney have to deal with the toxins that they're spraying on your food because supposedly they've made it so that you can't afford organic food. You got to eat organic food. You want to, the whole thing is a rabbit hole. It's wow. People really think they got to have these shots to live now. They're like vitamins. So they don't want to hear what I have to say most of the time. So my patients because it takes work. You want to live without pharmaceuticals are oil products. If you want to live without using oil products to kill one symptom after another, you got to clean it up. It takes a lifestyle change. You got to hug a couple trees and you got to get there because they created this whole matrix out there of people thinking this way because it's okay because everybody else is doing it. No, that's not okay. If everybody else is doing it, now what we know is it's probably wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caution people with this thing that I was worried about with Kennedy from the beginning. This big waving the flag, he's removed the mercury. I can't wait to get my flu shot. It's just another promotion to take more shots. There's no victory in taking the mercury out. It show how evil they are. Many years ago, when they showed the problem with mercury in the baby vaccines, the FDA publicly stated, we're going to take the mercury out of the baby vaccines. The pharmaceutical companies continued then and still to this day, put mercury in the vaccines that are shipped elsewhere in the world, in the baby vaccines. So they took it out for the U.S. public, They took it out for you. Oh, yeah, you're right, Rod. They're good people. Meanwhile, the people over there that aren't asking the question are getting
You're
it.
getting it.
Yeah. It's a cheap preservative with no systemic benefit. And they're injecting that into your infant. Sorry, it's not good. And we've all, maybe, hopefully not all, but one good thing that came out of the pandemic was that people became aware and quit vaccinating their children. And we're going to have a generation coming of leaders who are homeschooled and not vaccinated.
Yep.
And they are
We're
one.
lucky here in Wisconsin, we can sign off. So yeah, I'm guilty. My kids were vaccinated when little because that's what you're brainwashed to think that you're supposed to do. And now, yeah, I don't participate.
Nobody should feel guilty. Me, I'm guilty of it and woke up a little late.
Yep.
We're good parents, and you're doing the best you think you can at every moment. You should never feel guilty for that.
Oh yeah.
Bad
I think that the conversation is pretty exciting right now with Del Bigtree and some of his conversation, his lawyer, and them really exposing that we haven't had any good research. We're totally getting off topic on the amalgam thing, but there hasn't been safe research on that at all. They've compared vaccine against vaccine, and they've never looked at the whole schedule. And we've gone from five to what, 72 now for kids. It's ridiculous. And on the board, they just exposed that almost everybody on the approval board had a conflict of interest because they are also in bed with Merck and the factory and manufacturing, or they're there to make money when they are making the approvals, right, on the actual product. So anytime that we have someone making approvals of something who have an interest in getting it passed because they're going to make financial gain on it, we shouldn't have them on the board making the approvals because they're not capable of making a decision that's best for the public. And I think that's part of the conversation that is coming in that side of things. And everybody can choose on their own. Do your research. That's one thing with biologic dentistry, right? Everybody's, they're not research-based. They're not. This is the most science-based I have ever practiced in my life. When I went in, is read the science behind fluoride, read the science behind. There's science there. It's just been ignored by a lot of
Mainstream.
It's ignored by the special interest groups like the ADA, the FDA, for the gain of money. And it's the same thing with the vaccine schedule.
So
money.
before we leave vaccines, because like I say, I generally don't discuss it because as soon as you go and say, and this is why Bigtree and these others, I don't no longer listen to. As soon as you go to, oh, we don't need 72, maybe 5, maybe 6. As soon as you go there, you've said, we need them. That's wrong. That's wrong from the beginning. We don't need them. And the stories about how it saved the public from polio and what have you, if you really can dig deep anymore, which is very difficult with AI and Google, the mind control, it's a story. And this perfect body, sure, there's some exposure problems to an acute situation, no doubt, but to take that to the entire world and feel the need to give injections was a wrong approach. So I don't go there with people. I'm like, if you want to talk about, oh, I got less, I took this, spread the schedule out, it doesn't matter. It bioaccumulates. It's freaking damaging every time. It's stupid. And so you probably don't want to talk to me about it. But as far as like in the dental world, now we've been aware of this mercury problem. We're fighting the FDA on that for 40 years. And for us in the academy, I hear sometimes people say, I'm so tired of the whole mercury thing. This is like stupid. It is stupid to us because we're science people And we look at the science and it's like, why can't these people get it? And then the public is looking at to the ADA. They're always looking to their doctor because you're ingrained to look to the experts, and you can't read a study. I just talked to a friend yesterday. He says, oh, everybody's stupid. I said, no, they're not stupid. They just can't read a scientific study. You don't know how to look and see who funds it. You don't know how to dive into it, and you don't understand the science because you've never studied science. So I wouldn't expect a lawyer who wants to tell me about science and right from wrong in science is one of the most stubborn. I don't even want to go there, but they don't even understand the equation of oxidation. And then they want to tell me they can read the study and understand it. They don't understand what they did. It's very easy to manipulate the public with science. And when they realized that, they took off with that whole thing. And now what is science? I saw it on Google and I saw it on YouTube, and it's science now. Sorry. You better find somebody you trust. You got to find somebody in your heart and when you get in touch with your heart and you find the person that you connect with and you understand at least the basic that your body is perfect and wants to be well, then you got to put some trust in their understanding of science, because there's not enough time in your life to study biologic principle and physiologic equations and interactions to understand why that study is not real. And it's askew. All the studies now are funded by the pharmaceutical company.
Yep.
So what do you forget it? Forget it. You have to start trusting in each other and finding each other. And as you said at the IOMT, going there and seeing like-minded practitioners exchanging information, there's nothing better. And then to find one of those practitioners from the academy and work with them, most of the time, you're going to be in good hands. There's cheaters everywhere, but we try to do our best to educate and make sure we're all on the same page as best we can. We're all learning. That's the beauty of biological dentistry, is that you never know. I always say to my patients, this is what I think today. I said, if I think something different tomorrow, you better ask me tomorrow, because we're always learning. It's a beautiful thing. What about life and learning every day is a great thing.
It's incredible. And I think it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes. I think for a lot of people that maybe are listening to this podcast that aren't on the biological side of things, this probably sounded like crazy talk. Yep. But going back like two or three conversations ago, you said something pretty profound that I think really reveals such a layer of deceit within the medical and dental community. But people love easy, right? We've been trained and we don't have to do the hard work. The lifestyle changes that you were talking about, people don't realize how toxic of a world we're living in. Just starting with your food, not even thinking about all of the cosmetic products that we put on, all of the cleaning products, things like that, depending on what their level of awareness is of toxicity. But we've just been ingrained with that easy pill. You don't have to change your lifestyle. Just take this pill. You don't have to do this. Just, take the pill. Even with the whole Wegovy and Ozempic and all of those things right now, don't change your lifestyle. This will help you. And we see this is going to be the next level of, do you or someone took a weight loss injection during the 2025 years, whatever. But just there's so much. And I think shifting that to dentistry, it's a hard shift for a dentist to say, what I learned in school maybe wasn't correct. Because how much do we get pushed back in the hygiene world? If I didn't learn it in school, it wasn't important. Or if I didn't hear it at a CE event, it wasn't important. And so this is just such not a mainstream conversation, I think, for the very real reason that you mentioned. That means there's going to be a huge paradigm shift in dentistry. You're going to have to do a big time upgrade of what the office culture and what the office standards are. And like you said, Heather, it's out there. This isn't, OSHA doesn't know about this. They're just not being held to a standard we've lowered the bar and set the bar low, and that's where the comfort zone is. And we've just accepted, oh yeah, it's mercury, it's fine. It's just a little bit of mercury. Well, it's just a little bit of mercury. It's a little bit of aluminum. It's a little bit of fluoride. It's a little bit of everything over our lifetimes, like you were saying, Mark. And maybe you're not noticing it until you're 50 because you have decent pathways of excretion and getting all of that stuff out of there. But we're finding more and more people. How many have the MTHFR gene mutation that just can't excrete these things? And it's going to just wreck us so badly. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And it's one area that we can control on
Right.
our exposure. Like, we know the geoengineering thing is out, like with all of the spraying of the aluminum in our skies. So we don't have control over what the government is doing for weather control and geoengineering, which is not a tinfoil hat topic. We know, like meteorologists know, it's out there. There's documentation on weather modification, and they are spraying aluminum on us every single day. You can look to the sky. So that's where we don't have control. Hopefully we get some control over that. But if we can safely remove and eliminate whatever things we do in life, like eating organic, stopping using all the products that are toxic in our shampoos and our cleaning products, these are tiny little things that do add up over time to at least help our health in that perspective. Great point, Amanda.
Bioaccumulation.
Water.
Yep.
Yeah, bioaccumulation. I was never one of those people that believed the water was dirty. I was like, no, why would the government, why would my municipality not want to give me clean water? I had no idea what trihalomethane was until this last year. And now, yeah, we have RO throughout the whole house, which I know is still not perfect, but my husband's not soaking in toxic water in his bath every night. Not every night, but
It's and so everyone is creating their own reality. So we can't save everyone. And if you're watching this and it's too difficult and you don't want it, I have friends that say, "Hey, I take the pill and I want to eat
However.
that Subway and McDonald's." That's up to you, but the one thing people need to understand is it does affect you, and those chemicals do affect you. And if you accept, that's fine, and you want to take a pill and you want to keep doing the same thing, that's fine. That's your reality. That's your, hopefully you get this message and maybe you can change your lifestyle, but it'll take a change of lifestyle.
Mhm.
What we're talking about is not for everyone, obviously. Some people don't see any reason to pay extra for smart removal because they don't care. They don't understand how detrimental and how long-term that exposure is. It's a mega exposure when you drill it in somebody's head. And they don't, as long as they got the message, and for some people, they choose not to believe it. That's a convenience choice. That's not a scientific choice. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I hang with some people that are like that. Hey, I get it. That's your world. And they love to poke fun at me, and I just come right back with, I hope you're enjoying your glyphosate over there, because your body's trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that right now. But and that's okay. They've accepted that. I get it. And people click off this YouTube halfway through because they can't stand to hear it anymore. I think subconscious humans are good, kind people.
Oh, yeah.
They want to hear the truth, but they gonna want to hear their own truth. And for some people, they like the pharmaceutical way. Fine. I have to screen people that come to my practice. And if you're not seeking a better lifestyle and organic lifestyle, and you're taking all these medications, you shouldn't come to me. This is not where you should be, because I say things that'll just tick you off.
I love that. You're meeting your patient where you're at, and you're like, hey, we might not be aligned. I'm probably not the person for you. I've had those conversations. in my hygiene chair, I don't want you to do X, Y, or Z. I'm like, maybe I'm not the right hygienist for you then, because I don't really do things half-assed.
Yeah,
So,
it's right. You always
I have my philosophy, and if you want to see someone who is aligned with your philosophy on how you want to be treated, find somebody else to do it, because I can't do it beyond, like, lesser than what I see as best for my patient.
No, it's perfect. And that's exactly what you need to do. You know that what's healthy and why, and you can take time to explain it to them why you do different things. Somebody said a long time ago, you always listen to your patient, but then do what you know is best. You can't, you just be honest, which is what I teach on Sunday. Hey, you people, honesty will never lose, and be honest. If you don't know something, say you don't know it. And then the next day, say you'll email them and you can find out, because you people are all smart enough in this class to figure it out. And maybe you don't know exactly that. What are ozempic teeth? Did you know that? They have that now. You're going to find that the side effect of that drug is actually causing problems in your mouth. And when you look in a person's mouth, you can pretty much tell. It's like a crystal ball. You can see their past, you see their present condition. And people who tell me they're healthy and I can look in their mouth, they go, what about your gut problem? How do you know that? Your tongue looks like it got ran over by a pickup truck. That's connected. It's like part of your tube right there. And right here, this is the entrance to your body. It's part of it's the tube. It goes right through, and everything operates off of what you're putting in there. The opening tells you a lot. And then if you put some toxins in there or allergenic metals in there, your entire body is, what a beautiful thing. Teach the dentist to put toxins in the human's mouth and we can control them. But that's a whole different topic.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. That's why people in the academy are, do we have to keep talking about mercury? Doesn't everybody know now that mercury is like a problem? This is stupid.
No.
Like, if you said, let me take this lead, which is not as toxic as mercury, and put this in your teeth, they would think oh no, you're not doing that, but it's okay to put mercury in there. And people are so brainwashed. And if you can't get past that part and you don't want to believe that, fine. You need to go to a cheap, conventional dentist and continue down your path. And I respect you, and I'll hang out with you and talk to you on the street or whatever. But when you come for a biologic care, understand you're getting people who are thinking through what they're doing and doing for you the best that they can using the most biocompatible materials. And you'll feel that warmth of a patient-doctor relationship that you never experienced in another office. Okay. So that when people come to me, it's very common. They say, wow, I never had this in my other dental office. Of course not. They're insurance people. They're giving you what insurance pays for. You go to a medical doctor and they don't even talk that you can have cornea replacement parts, because insurance only pays for titanium. And titanium has some long-term and sometimes short-term problems, but insurance doesn't pay for it. You don't even know about it. And your doctor is doing the best they can because they're working for a hospital now and they have to deliver these products, and insurance doesn't cover that. So we don't talk about that. You're wasting time. Oh, your 10 minutes is up. We're going on. I think it's 5 minutes. So I'll see you next. You know the whole thing. So it's where we exist. And I really love that you gals are really here doing this. People got to realize and come for the reason. We're not going to convert anybody. They're coming because somehow they saw it on Oprah, and now they're going to realize, oh, maybe there is something with that. And those are fun people to deal with, are people that are like ready to change. And it's a process. It doesn't happen in overnight. All of this stuff and detoxing, cleaning up your environment that you live in, the container, it takes time. It took you 30, 40, whatever years to get there. Now it's going to take you some years probably to really clean it out, doing the right thing. Not everybody's ready to do that. Maybe, unfortunately, sometimes the finances creates a big barrier. So
Yeah.
I get it.
I saw a beautiful analogy of that very thing that you're talking about, of this, let's say a mason jar, a big mason jar, and it's full of dirt, a representation of our body. And you finally start putting good things in. Obviously, that dirt doesn't turn to clear water very quickly. The continuation of putting good things in, flushing all of that out, eventually it is going to become that nice, beautiful, clear glass jar of pure water, but it takes time of getting rid of all of that bad stuff and continuing to put the good stuff in. So that was a good visual for that very
Yeah,
point.
and behind there'll be some stains on the glass. That's the damage
Right.
that happens. If you're exposed, there's some damage. I was totally, and not exaggerating, near death with heart palpitations and pain and things like that. And there are things that will never come back totally. If you, the longer you go, the more sick you are. And so the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be. And your body is plastic, it can heal, but it's not, nothing's ever going to be as perfect as when you were born. And as soon as you stop taking a newborn and exposing it to toxins, you're going to find geniuses one after another, because it's the toxic exposure which holds back the human potential. I say, and it's totally up to you, but I don't have much good to say about people who continue to inject their infants. We better not talk about that. And I don't talk about politics. I'm apolitical. I think it's all one agenda.
Yeah.
So people don't want to talk to me about that either. So we try to help them when they're in there, and I think they get a flavor for what I'm about right away. And I think most biologic are the same. Most are, I'm sure there's some very strong political, if you let yourself go there, you can become very political in this atmosphere. But in my world, they're all they're all being pulled by the same strings.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is. But for us, support local, be clean,
Grow
and
your own food if you can.
yeah, exactly. And support local, because this is your environment. This is what you have the ability to love those around you. And if you travel to Turkey, love those people too. Now you're local there, and support the people around you and create a loving environment and have a good life. Amen.
Amen. Yes.
Just one wrap up.
Cut it right there. Amen. Then cut it right there. I'm not religious, but I know amen.
So be it. So be it. I guess just one wrap up question for you, Mark, maybe two. But if you could give a message to a younger dentist or any clinical staff about their health and safety, what would you want them to carry forward with that message?
To get to a person, when you, first of all, when you come out of school, you're brainwashed. So a speaker once said, I wish I knew as much as I did when I first got out of school, because you think you know everything. So you got a very difficult situation right there. There's a big wall to cross there. But if they're ready to listen, be aware of chemical exposures. Even my doctor, who is conventional, said to me, or maybe said to my wife, dentists have a lot of health problems because they're exposed to a lot of chemicals. So if you don't even want to go down that mercury path, you got to start thinking about all the things that works. We use kinds of bonding, and everything is volatile, and we're exposed. And then hopefully you eventually you'll get to understand that you unfortunately have to look like this right here when you drill metal and mercury, and your patient needs to be protected. And then now you'll start thinking in the right manner as to look at the material you're using to restore, because nothing is as good as what you're drilling out, or as far as good tooth structure goes. restore it with the best you can, and think happy thoughts and tell the truth. Be truthful every minute of every day, and you'll be happy. And that's really truthful to yourself, number one, and truthful to your patients and all those around you, and you're going to have a happy life. You have nothing to worry about. You're doing as good as you can every minute. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Is it
That
that can they absorb all of that? Did I?
if they made it to that point, yes, they can.
Yeah, I think it makes sense if you're listening to that.
Yeah.
Me, and I think it makes sense if they should really think about that. And then you can't deny that. You go in your office and you look. I used to put, when I was conventional, on my glove, I used to put my bond right here then I would use it to lubricate my filling when I was doing it. Wow, I got a big rash right here, and it took me some time to figure out it was because I put my bond there. You're breathing that. So you look at what you're doing every day, you're using chemicals.
Yeah.
And chemicals they're not part of the container. So the container wants to be contained and give
could
it
go
what
off.
it needs, right?
Yes, one of my pet peeves right now, chemical wise, is spray wipe spray with cavicide. Cavicide. No, I understand we need to kill things, but we're ingesting that so much.
No, there is a new machine that I have sitting in a box, which makes it very convenient. I'm waiting. There's another machine that's coming that's going to actually generate distilled water that you can use in your autoclave. And you pipe that into the machine and it ozonates the water. And now that's what you wipe with. There's no more chemical. So you use ozonated water and it comes out of a machine, which is always like trying to get the dental offices to do it is like generating. How do you do it? You bubble this big jar and it's a big task. So now we're going to go to your sink and you pull the faucet and there's ozonated water. And now you go do your wipe and it's clean and it very quickly dissipates. It kills everything it touches, but it disappears and it doesn't cause any kind of health issues.
And there's new products too. BioSure and Hygiene's have an ozone generating spray bottle. So
Yes.
you put your water in and it makes its own ozone and you can use that. An ozone can kill MRSA. We know that it's antifungal, antimicrobial in a lot of perspectives. So definitely healthier for us to be exposed to than cavicide. Another chemical that's really bad for us. That if you read it, you're supposed to be wearing rubber gloves, the dishwasher rubber gloves, not just your medical gloves for handling. That's the OSHA side of me. And it should be actually wipe. it's, I think, yeah, we should be cleaning and then disinfecting wipe. Yeah. But you're still exposed if you're just putting the cavicide and you're using your regular exam gloves, that can penetrate into the glove and you're not really protecting yourself. Just like the chemical that you talked about, you're supposed to be wearing the rubber gloves for use and you should have a clean set in your room and then one in the autoclave space. That's the OSHA trainer in me there, but most offices don't do that. So we're just not following, we teach it, but we don't follow the protocols always on what we should do. We're supposed to have the MSCS sheets on all of these and look at them whenever we pull those chemicals in. But a lot of people just file it away. They don't really look at the safety parameters.
You gotta, for the dentist, they want to make sure they're doing as best they can to follow the OSHA guidelines, which are sometimes totally ludicrous, but understanding, standing by themselves, each one, they come and compile, but it's not feasible sometimes to do it. So that's what happens. You lose that.
It's more convenient to put your exam gloves on, and at least you're somewhat protected.
Yeah.
These things are frumpy.
You
The
feel
rubber
like
gloves that are up to here. And you're like,
yeah, and they're uncomfortable. They
can't
sweaty.
feel stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. And which reminds me, I need to go back and look at my office, see what they're doing. But my ozone generator is going to be coming very soon as I get that distilled water generator that hook up to it, and then I don't have to worry about that anymore. So
Yeah.
it's an evolution.
Nice.
We'd like to remove all those chemicals if we can. Your restorations, you do the best as you can.
Yeah.
People want to, what are you putting in there? We're using composite. Was good. I see we tried using seaweed and it didn't work out too well. So we have every compound is short of being it's short of being perfectly biocompatible. It all comes with some compromise. For me, in my vetting, I pick the best stuff that gives you the least exposure and certainly doesn't release things into your body for the rest of your life, what we used to use. So, and this is what you have to really have if you want to find that dentist, this is their mindset. They have to think about everything they're doing. And then once you find that, then trust your doctor that you know they're giving you the best.
Mark, quick question as we start to think about wrapping up. If someone's looking, or anyone who's listening to this, and they're interested in learning about becoming biologic, or you're a patient and you are interested in finding someone who are following the protocols for a better mercury removal for themselves, where would people find a resource for patient needs or training?
You know the answer.
I know.
IAOMT.
Yeah.
International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology.org or .com. And the library is huge. It's all public accessible for any dentist. There's online learning. You can ask almost anything that's on your mind. You can always the people that are in the academy will help any doctor or hygienist who's thinking of becoming, maybe they had an inkling that they want to do this. So you have people you can talk to live, you have a library you can research on your own, and there's tons of videos, and you can actually get credits for learning and going through the whole process. It's all there. And so I think that IAOMT site is not used enough by the public. And of course, you have to come up with some kind of saying so how you can remember IAOMT.
Yeah.
And that once you get there, they'll find the answers.
Yeah. And they do have a provider once you're certified, and depending on your level of certification through there, you can locate practitioners who are certified and through the program. So I do refer a lot of my patients through the provider platform. You can actually search your state or your zip code to find providers who are part of the IAOMT. So if you are someone who is looking for a more biologic based practice, that's where you can go to find a practitioner there. We always finish with a one question. I know this is your first podcast interview. Thank you for letting us do that with you. But what are you currently reading or listening to when it comes to fun, pleasure, or what are you listening to or reading right now?
I have the largest library of half-read books in the country. I suffer attention deficit, so I don't do a lot of reading. I learn by viewing and listening, and I'm a music person. The hot tip for people who are music people is to download or stream Radio Paradise. And Radio Paradise has the best cutting edge, continually new and wide range of music anywhere. So Radio Paradise, we play it in our office. People always want to know where are you getting this? Commercial free music, Radio Paradise.
All right.
I'm a music person, so every day from Radio Paradise, I download new groups I'd never heard of, or sometimes old stuff that I missed, and that's where I am. My current hobby is making lost wax jewelry. I just made my daughter's wedding rings, and that was my first ring, and now I'm making my wife a ring, and I'm going to maybe finish that this weekend. And I have a lot of half-done lost wax products.
Awesome. Very
What
cool.
is lost wax? I need to know what lost wax is.
Yeah, you make it in wax and then you cast it. You put it like you do a model, you put it into stone.
Oh,
And
okay.
you shoot gold or silver or whatever you want, and it turns into a piece of jewelry. Now most things are done AI, where you can design it and it comes out perfect, and they make a mold out of that. But the lost wax technique is being lost, and that's where you freehand and make it like we used to do in dental school. We made crowns out of wax,
Yeah.
and then you made gold crowns from that, which
Yeah.
is not incidentally full gold. It has its own problems. But that's a fun thing for me right now. And I'm going down that whole thing.
And dentists are artists, so that suits,
It's true.
like definitely keeps you still in that artistry mode. That's super
You
cool.
get lost when you do that. For people who want to do that, you find like the whole day goes by. It's like that was such a great hobby that your mind is off of everything else and into your project. And in the end, hopefully somebody enjoys it. That's a kind of the music, and that is besides my activity, the academy, the IAOMT, we had our, if we're going to end, I'm going to throw this last bit out there. Is the most important thing that's changing the world right now. We just had our first international meeting. It's always been an international academy, but never outside of the US. So me as the chair of the international committee, and all my committee and my friends in the academy put together our first international meeting in Istanbul. It was just fabulous. It was unbelievable and so well received. Then we have now approved funding to go with our second meeting for the next 1 year later, and sneak information in Lisbon. So we're going to Portugal next. And so the people from around the world, we're also launching a Educate the World campaign about mostly smart and biological dentistry and medicine. So we have never done that as the Academy. When we did that to educate the public in the United States, our membership doubled very quickly because the people, they're dentists, said we need to have this done correctly, and it doubled the membership, and our membership grew steadily, and now we're going to the world, and it's going to be the people of the world are very much ready for it, and so they're more advanced, believe it or not, than people in the US, no matter what they made you believe. And a lot of them are already down that road, but they don't know about the IAOMT and this organized effort to bring you wellness.
Awesome. I'm so excited to see it
Thank you,
worldwide.
guys. I thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we help some people out there with their information. If nothing else, they can listen to Radio Paradise.
Awesome.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Functional Roots podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow to stay connected. And if you enjoyed the episode or found it helpful, we'd love for you to share it with a friend.
Hey, friends. Heather here with Functional Roots Podcast, and I'm incredibly excited to share some really cool news. For the past few years with working with Bristle, I've had so many practices, dentists, hygienists who are asking this question: where do I get trained like you on the oral microbiome? And I'm super thrilled to announce that I have been taking the leap into creating a new space. So my website, heatherkenneyrdh.com, is now live. And I'm gratefully collaborating with Janice through Den Credits to bring you PACE certified CE through courses that are available now on my website. This platform is designed not only to educate, but also be a community, a place where we can support each other through CE courses, webinars, and eventually I'm hoping to have a membership hub. My vision is to create an ongoing community where we can gather for open microbe nights, where we can share discoveries, discuss clinical cases, and keep an advanced conversation on the oral microbiome and oral systemic health. So I'd love to have you check out and join in and be a part of the next step of expanding biologic dentistry education. So please visit heatherkenneyrdh.com. It's now live. and ready to educate and share.